Good morning. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome, everyone, to this space. It's been a long time since many of you have been able to be here together face to face with us, and we are so glad to be here with you and that you're here with us. It makes a huge difference, and we're so glad to see you. Welcome also to those of you joining us from home, wherever you happen to be, joining us via our live stream. We are together, one community, whether we're here, whether we're home, whether we put on outside clothes or whether we're still in our jammies. We are together, and that's what matters. We have been exploring over the last number of weeks something that we've called everyday sacraments, and that's just a fancy way of saying that we've been talking about the ordinary, everyday things of our lives that may have something to teach us, that may have some wisdom to share. And how can we learn from all the things around us in our lives and in nature that can teach us something? Today, we're going to expand that into the area of time, our clocks, our alarm clocks, the clocks on our phones, the time that just keeps ticking on, no matter whether we hide our clocks or not. Time seems to keep going. So we'll wonder together what time and the cycle of time has to teach us for living the best lives that we can possibly live. I want to share a few introductions with you this morning. There's someone missing among us today. My teammate Nancy is, along with Dawn, away for the week, celebrating and honoring a close friend at the BC coast. And so our thoughts are with them as they travel and they spend time out west for a week or so. And as usual, we have some people in this room that we couldn't do everything we do without them. So just some time for gratitude to Noah and to Andrea in the booth, who make all the technical things happen, sound checks and microphones and cameras and switching and live streaming and computers, and all of that is thanks to them, so thank you both. We also have, we can clap for them. Also, we have a gaggle of musicians here this morning, Deb and Catherine, Janice, Anne, two Pams on vocals. Pam will be playing drums and keyboards as well. And we just thank you for all that you give to us. Thanks very much. And you were greeted, those of you who are in the room were greeted by Jakob and May this morning, our hosts and greeters. Jakob is the chair of our board here at SSUC, and so thanks to them for greeting and hosting and doing all of that. And as well, we have Daisy and Ariane in the room who lead our children's programming, and we're grateful for them for being here and for supplying all of the fun, the activities, and the leadership that they do. Thank you both. As we gather here, we always spend time to just pause for a moment and think about the place that we are. Whether we're here in this room or whether we're at home, we know that we are in a place, we're on land, we're in a neighborhood, in a community, in a city where we weren't the first ones. Many people have come before us that called this place home, this land home, and we recognize all of those ancestors of ours, and then back before that, we recognize that the First Nations people who called this home and still call this home give to us a trust of this land, and we have much to learn from them spiritually, about the land, and about a whole many things about living in concert with it. So we take that time to honor this place, and wherever you happen to be, as you're watching with us, we take this moment to have some gratitude for the land and the peoples of the land. We're going to light a candle this morning, as we always do, and I'm just going to put my mask back on as we do that, because I've got a wonderful volunteer this morning who is going to help us light our candle. And we're going to do that in a way that is really fantastic, because without people in the room, Nancy and I are always the ones lighting the candle. But now we've got lots of people in the room. I shouldn't say lots of people, should I? Everything's relative. This is lots for us. And now we've got someone who's going to take this candle right here, and I'm going to hold this down here like this, and we're going to light this candle. Oh no, look what happened. Can you light it again right here? Keisha, we always know that things don't always work the first time. Sometimes, oh boy. One more time, and I'll give you a tip. Instead of upside down, just sideways a little bit. This is the wonderful thing about. So just hold your hand down a little bit so it doesn't. Yes, just like this. You did it. Thank you. Now, do you want to blow that out? You'll have to just dip your mask down, blow it out. Excellent. Thank you, Keisha. You can just leave that right there. Amazing. Thank you. We are so grateful to have people to share this light with. We have light in our homes. We've been lighting candles as we've tuned in. But to do it together means something. And it means that we get to share in the light and to share our time together. And so this candle symbolizes that shared experience that we have and the shared community that we participate in together. So thank you very much. Let us put that into words in terms of a way that celebrates us being here together, being here virtually, and celebrating all that we are together. We have a time for all ages this morning, and I'm going to ask those of you in the room who would normally come to a carpet and we could share time on a carpet together. We're just going to stay in our seats until I invite you to go to our Kid Spirit programming. But I do want us all, this is the time for all ages, so I do want us all, whether we're in this room or whether you can place your responses in the chat box at home, I want us to participate in this time for all ages. I mean, we haven't had this back and forth for a while, so I'm kind of dying to know what you have to think about some of the things that we talk about. So this book is called The Favorite Book, and I must say it's not really a story as much as it is a way to talk about our favorite stuff. So this is The Favorite Book, and it's by Bethany Dini Marguia. Well, I'll get your comments on that later. So here we go. This is the way this book starts. How do you choose a favorite, a best? Which would you pick before all the rest? So I'm going to ask the kids in the room, but I'll ask everyone as well. Do you see your favorite up there? What is it? What is it? Red, purple? Did you say purple too? Nice. Anything else? Turquoise. Nice. Oh, yeah. Mine is up there. It's orange. Okay, let's keep going. Do you examine, determine, inspect, measure, and weigh before you select? Oh, see, so sometimes you have to really think hard about choices you make. Like, is it the right one? How will it be? Or do you just know right from the start? You may be the sort who follows your heart. You just know. So I want to take a show of hands here. Who, and we all do kind of all kinds of things all the time, but who mostly really thinks hard and goes like back and forth on a decision and thinks about pros and cons and goods and bads about a decision before you make it? Who does that kind of decision making the most? Oh, yeah. Well, that's a good number of you. Okay. How about who goes with your heart? Who just sees something and knows and says, that's it? Oh, I think a little bit more in the room. Yeah. Oh, and interesting. Yes, I like it. Oh, this one's simple. What gets your vote? Look at that. Donuts, brownies, pies, cupcakes, cheesecakes. Oh boy, big tall cakes. Ooh, does that look good to anyone? What would you go for? All of it? All at once? I could go for that answer, yes. Which is the one? Oh, can you find a favorite hat there, anyone? Do you see one that you would just like immediately grab? I like the beavery one up at the top. But I'm kind of strange that way. A beanie? Did you say a beanie, Pam? Oh, I'm geeky. Yes, I am. Thank you, Pam. I know that. I'm glad you do too. Oh, is the sorting hat? Oh, what? Which one is that? The red one, yes. Oh, yeah, okay. Thank you. I didn't even see that one there. That is special. Nice. Okay, we're going to carry on. Maybe you'll realize your favorite is none. No, none of those are my thing. Thank you very much, maybe. Or what if just one couldn't possibly do? Can you pick two or three? Oh, this is now a parenting issue, isn't it? Well, that's up to you. Do you follow along or go with your friends? That's a great thing to do, to be part of a group and to go with your friends. Or are you the type who start your own trends? Not all these ordinary things. I'm going to take the weird and amazing and wonderful and strange thing. That's kind of a fun way to go too. A favorite can be a way to connect. Oh, look, two people liking the same thing. That's something to talk about and connect over. A favorite can change. Oh, look, we're back at the hat shop. This child has chosen this nice square brown hat, which looks very good. But you can change if you reselect. Oh, she's coming out with a knight's hat. But it does have a peacock feather on top, which makes it extra special, doesn't it? Some favorites choose us to be in their crew. Look at this one on the left is saying, me? Who, me? You want me to play with you? And then before long, we're choosing them too. The favorites we pick, the choices we make, become part of us and the path that we take. And always ahead, more favorites await, wonders to find and to create. Who would rather sit on a stump and play the accordion, or who would like to dig a sandcastle? What do you think? Play some music? The musicians are answering that way, and a few others. And who would like to dig and make some sandcastles? Oh, yeah, a lot more people would do that. Well, can we do both? Why not? Why can't we do both? We could do one then the other, right? From here to the sea, to the sky up above, there are so many things in this world you can love. How do you choose a favorite, a best? Which would you pick before all the rest? And this is the favorite book. And it just helps us think a little bit about how we make decisions. And some of them are fun decisions to make, and other ones are harder. But all of the ways that we choose are ways that we choose to live and to do good things with our time and with our energy. So, having read that amazing book about having wonderful things to choose to do, I know that Daisy and Ariane have planned a few wonderful and fun things to do, and maybe you'll get to choose. Maybe you'll get to see all the choices there are to do this morning and do some wonderful ones. So, Daisy and Ariane are over there, and they're going to zip through that door, and if you'd like to join them, you can zip through that door as well and start a Kid Spirit adventure this morning. I was just going to play the next little clip that we have of the reading, and then realized that for the people at home, you'd be confused because I said that Nancy wasn't here, and yet you're going to see her. Nancy didn't really want to be absent for a whole week, and so I said, well, why don't you read the reading for us? We'll record you, and it'll be like you're here with us. So Nancy was kind enough to record the reading for us this morning, and so here she is on our screens, whether we're here in person or at home.
A few days ago, our Jewish brothers and sisters celebrated Yom Kippur, ending the 10-day high holy days that begin the Jewish New Year. It's so appropriate that we hear wisdom from the Jewish tradition today. A Hasidic story entitled Where the Treasure's Hidden. There was once a poor man who lived in the city of Prague. One night, he dreamt that he should journey to Vienna. There, at the base of a bridge leading to the king's palace, he would find buried treasure. Night after night, the dream reoccurred, until not being able to stand it anymore, he left his family behind and traveled to Vienna. The bridge, however, was heavily guarded. The watchful eyes of the king's soldiers afforded little opportunity to retrieve the treasure. So every day, the poor man spent hours pacing back and forth across the bridge, waiting for his chance. After 2 weeks, one of the guards grabbed him by the lapels of his coat and demanded gruffly, "What are you plotting? Why do you keep returning to this place day after day?" Frustrated and anxious, he blurted out the story of his dream. When he finished, the soldier who'd been biting his lip broke into uncontrollable laughter. He stopped laughing long enough to say, "What a foolish man you are, believing in dreams. Why, if I let my life be guided by that silliness, I'd be well on my way to the city of Prague. For just last night, I dreamed that a poor man in that city has buried in his cellar a treasure which awaits discovery." The man was released before he could say any more and was escorted out of the city. He returned home, dug in his cellar, and found the fortune. Alas, the treasure was always in his possession, yet he had to travel a long and difficult journey to know of its existence. May we find wisdom in this timeless story for our living of these times.
So as I mentioned earlier, we're in this series of exploring the everyday things that have the wisdom that we can use to live our best and most human lives. And we've explored plenty of ordinary wonders in our natural world all around us. And this week, not so much a thing as a concept, maybe. This week I want to see if time has any wisdom for us. To be honest, I usually notice time when I don't have enough of it. And when I really stop to think about that, I have the same amount of time as I do every other day or every other hour. So what I'm really saying when I say I don't have enough time is that I haven't made very good decisions about how I've used it, and now I'm up against something. I think that many of us tend to treat time as a little bit of an enemy, either because we don't have enough of it or because it's going by too fast. Ironic, because as kids, if we remember when we were one, we waited for things that seemed to take an eternity. Birthdays, Christmas, the end of school, lunch, all of those things that just seem to take forever. But the more experience of years that we acquire, it seems that even the exciting things now come and go in the blink of an eye. And I guess I noticed that happening when I myself had children, but we all notice that at different times as we experience days and time differently as we gain experience. So what is time if not an enemy? Could it be a teacher? We have to wonder. What if we can learn a lot from spending some time with time? Walter Brueggemann, a huge name in the study of Hebrew scriptures, writes an eloquent piece in his book, The Liturgy of Abundance. And here it is. At the very beginning of the Bible, there is a song in praise of abundance and generosity. In all the diversity of creation, this story lists, as a refrain, it keeps saying, "It is good. It is good. It is good." It declares that the world is imbued with vitality. The plants, the animals, and the fish, and the birds, and humankind. And as the story goes, all this vitality ends in Sabbath, understood in many ways. One is to consider that there is such an overrunning of fruitfulness that it's necessary to step back. It's crucial to stop and take it all in, to inventory, to recognize just what amazement there is in life, in creation, in beauty, in your very consciousness. The idea of Sabbath is an ancient one. Different traditions have interpreted it differently, but in essence, it was taught as a way to pause. Doesn't matter which day was chosen in different traditions. There was this kind of sense that to live a full and good life, one needed to pause every now and then. Now, just to put this in context, because I think we forget sometimes, this was before the invention of the weekend. So this teaching, this spiritual teaching for these ancient people, it was to give a day when, if you were a worker, anything but the most elite and the most wealthy, that you could rest from what was, without a doubt, really hard labor and a hard life. So maybe this idea doesn't have quite the same impact now that we have a 4 or 5 day work week or whatever we happen to do, but to learn that the roots of our tradition, these days weren't just a rest from work. It's what we do with that day that's also important. The day of rest is a day to contemplate our living, so that it doesn't just slip away in the relentless flipping of the days, the flipping of the calendar. And I don't know about you, but that happens a lot in the kind of lives we lead, because we fill our days, whether it's with work or with other things. Even if during the pandemic, in which we've learned a lot of things about time and our lives, even if our days don't have much to fill them, we still end up peeling that day off the calendar, and it's all of a sudden tomorrow. And how can this be repeating again so soon? Especially when you're thinking, what the heck's for dinner? So we can have a Sabbath day, sure. We can have a day where we say, I'm going to rest today. But what about giving ourselves moments? What about giving ourselves minutes to do this essential task of pausing, reflecting, and pondering what's important, and evaluating how we're living. So that's where I'm getting to here, is that it's not just rest, take it easy, don't do any hard work. It's about what we do with that time that we have, that we're going to set apart, that will be an ordinary sacrament for us in our day, whether it's a minute or 5 or 10 or an hour, to ponder what's really important. I think that's the key. And what are the risks if we don't? What are the risks of just going along for the ride, unable to get off the roller coaster, unable to make changes, unable to exert any kind of thoughtful control over the direction of our lives? Well, that does have consequences. An American scientist and meditation teacher named Jon Kabat-Zinn said these words: "You can't stop the waves, but you can learn how to surf." If we think about, the days and the weeks and the months that flip by for us, if we think of those as the waves, well, we can't do anything about the waves, but we can learn how to ride them, maybe in a new way or a different way. The kid story that we experienced a few moments ago, why do we spend time having fun about talking about our favorite this or our favorite that? This is an example in miniature of that Sabbath activity. This is that restful activity where we say, what's good, what's not? What do I like? What do I not like? Why this and not that? What brings us joy and what doesn't? That's a tiny example, and in a very accessible way, of what I think the ancients and the moderns would say it is to be taking a break, to take a Sabbath moment. I've showed this video in the past before, but I'm going to show it again because I love it so much. Not only because it talks about our days and our time in our lives, but also because it uses jelly beans. And what's better than jelly beans? Here we go.
These are roughly 28,835 jelly beans. I counted out 500 of them and used those to weigh the rest. In this pile, there's one jelly bean for each day that the average American will live. You might have more beans in your life, or maybe less, but on average, this is the time we have. Here's a single bean. It's your very first day. A special day, but kind of a rough day on everyone involved. Add 364 more and you have the first year of your life. Now, for a sense of scale, here are your first 15 years, 5,475 days. Which brings us to the threshold of adulthood, and at that moment, this is the time that we have left. And this is, on average, what we will do with all that time. We will be asleep for a total of 8,477 days. If we're lucky, some of that time we'll be sleeping next to someone we love. We will be in the process of eating, drinking, or preparing food for 1,635 days. We'll be at work, hopefully doing something satisfying, for the equivalent of 3,202 of those days. 1,099 days will be spent commuting or traveling from one place to another, maybe a little bit more if you live in LA. On average, we will watch television in one form or another for a total of 2,676 days. Household activities, like chores and tending to our pets and shopping, will take another 1,576 days. And we will care for the needs and well-being of others, our friends and family, for 564 days. We'll spend 671 days bathing, grooming, and doing all other bathroom-related activities, and another 720 days will go to community activities, like religious and civic duties, charities, and taking classes. After we remove all those beans, this is what remains. This is the time that we have left. Time for laughing, swimming, making art, going on hikes, text messages, reading, checking Facebook, playing softball, maybe even teaching yourself how to play the guitar. So what are you going to do with this time? How much of it do you think you've already used up? If you only had half of it, what would you do differently? What about half of that? How much time have you already spent worrying instead of doing something that you love? What if you just had one more day? What are you going to do today?
I don't know about you, but if that video does anything for me, it's the sheer volume of time that we use doing ordinary things, ordinary, everyday things. And that's baffling to me because we all need to sleep and eat and shop and cook and all that kind of stuff. And it really does illustrate in a powerful way the opportunity we have to make the time we do have mean something, whether it's a lot of beans or just a little. That they might mean something to our living and our loving, mean something to the world and to our legacy. But there's one thing we can think about as we reflect on that video, and that is that that assumes that we're not doing really crucial and important and meaningful, loving things while we're doing all those other ordinary things. And that's the point of this series, of seeing the real special in the ordinary, is because even while we're cooking and caring for others and cleaning and taking care of our pets and commuting and working, we are also imbuing all that time with who we are, with the decisions we make for good, for joy, for kindness, for all of those things that we want our lives to be about. So we use our time and with our ordinary strength to live as we desire, to live in awareness and attentiveness to our life's calling. And actually, having said that, that sounds too grandiose. We don't all know what our life's calling is, or can't identify it or put a pin in that and say exactly that is my life's calling. But at the very least then, to get closer to how we dream our life could be, to how we dream our world could be. And so with my being of today, I'm going to try to get just a little bit closer to what that is for me and hopefully for others. I just want to talk for 1 minute about this ancient kind of Hasidic Jewish story that Nancy read, because it's really good. It's really good in the way a story can just be really good and meaningful. This poor man has a dream that there's a treasure buried outside the king's palace in Vienna, but he's in Prague, so he has this dream so many times he feels he really needs to go. So he takes the long trip and he walks there and he travels and he finds the bridge, but the guards are suspicious that he's hanging around, and he gets tossed out of town. But before that can happen, one of the guards laughs at him and says, "You are being so foolish. Like, if we all believed in these things, then I would be off to the city of Prague because I just had a dream that there's a poor man there with a treasure in his cellar." And at that, the poor man clues in. And he does rush home and he digs in his cellar and he finds that treasure right there. And the story ends in that good way that all really good, compact stories ends, with this little moral. And it says, "Alas, the treasure was always in his possession, yet he had to travel the long and difficult journey to know of its existence." The wisdom that comes to us from our very clocks, from the ticking of time, the cycles that we go through our days, our seasons, it inspires us to ask a lot of hard questions in our moments of Sabbath, in the moments we give ourselves to think about these things. How do we make use of what we have? How do we invest our time and energy and love and compassion? Our work and play and words and actions, how do we invest in our very lives? And recognize that the treasure is our living. The cycle of time asks us to bring exactly who we are to the world, to everything we're doing, so that it doesn't matter if it's busy doing something else, we're bringing ourselves to it. It doesn't matter if we're busy doing this thing on our calendar, we are bringing who we want to be in the world to that task, So it's never wasted. It's never busyness. It's me living out my life through the tasks I'm doing. Recognizing the treasure that is our living, the cycle of time asks us to think about those things in terms of economics and justice, of mercy, of care, all kinds of categories. What we buy, how we buy it, where we go, who we spend time with, how will we act, how will we do what we do. And all that seems really like too much to think about, which is why we can't just have one Sabbath and think it all through and then be done with it. It's why we need little ones here and there and everywhere to take the time and just say, okay, this is a lot to think about, but let me look at this little piece. The pandemic taught us that our time and our spending of our time is complicated. Work from home, work from the office, balance my family and my personal life with my work life, get out of these four walls for a little bit, or spend time at home because it's safe. Like it's complicated, and it really taught us how our time really is complex. And it also taught us a lot that we can't wait for the perfect moment to live the life we want. We can't wait till all the rest of those jelly beans are pushed out of the way that we've done with them, and we have just that little square and say, now what do we do with this lovely little square? We can't wait for that. For one thing, we never know how many beans we have left, and for another thing, it's never the perfect time. We can't wait till life is simpler because it'll never be simple. I remember this wonderful, wonderful woman who's no longer with us now, but she was such a good friend when we were having our first child. And she said to us, this was at theological school, and she was like a grandmother to all of the theological students, and she herself was a theological student, which was amazing. And she said to Ainsley and I at the time, she said, if we were expecting our first child, and she said, it doesn't matter if you're worried, it doesn't matter. If you planned for when you were exactly ready, you would never have a child. If you wait for the perfect moment, it will never come. We can wait till we have more money. We'll always find something else to spend it on. We will wait until we have more time, and there will always be something to fill it. So if there's no perfect time, then the time has to be now, every moment, every being. The vow of the spiritual journey is to do the best we can with what we have, and to invest what we have so that it creates a life worthy of our highest humanity. So I made this little chart, and it's silly, I know, to make a chart, but I like that it had arrows on it, and so I put it down on paper because I wanted to ask these questions of myself, and maybe you will too. I wanted to hit the pause button in my life, whether it's 5 minutes a day or a day out of the week, and I wanted to let this wisdom sink in and ask myself a few questions. I wanted to ask, what do we have to do? And what can we let go of? What builds us up and what tears us down? What matters most and what's most important? These are questions that I need to ask in my little Sabbath moments, because these are the ones that help me evaluate everything I'm doing or saying or buying. We all need help with this one. How will we say no to the things that betray our values and say yes to the things that bring life? I don't know of anyone who's yet figured this out perfectly, but the question is there because I want to get better at it. How can we be more intentional about our technology use? Well, that one is still a work in progress for all of us, I'm sure. We've all spent time wasting too much time in front of the TV or using our phones for too long or disrupting each other, disrupting our days or even worse, our sleeps. So I ask myself about that. And then I also, that last one, what kind of time and conversations do we want to spend with our loved ones? I ask that with aging and ailing parents. I ask not just about a visit with them, but how can this visit be the best visit? How can my conversations with them be the best ones with the time we have left? All this we can do by utilizing who we are, every part of who we are. And so I'm bringing this to a close. My apologies. I'm just going on and on and on today, but I'm spending lots of time. So we know our time is our greatest resource, and it's the treasure that we find in each day. It's the treasure in all of our cellars. The treasure of our time, the treasure of who we are. So may we live into each day knowing that that jelly bean will be delicious, and it's for us to give it to the world, give ourselves to the world in whatever we're doing. So, may it be so in so many ways for our lives and for our living.
As we gather week by week, we take opportunity to build the muscle of our intention, to build our capacity to care more deeply, to live more respectfully with one another, and with earth our home. So we take this time with each other to share words, to pray our intentions. I invite you to join me in the words you find before you. In the midst of days that are full, earning, doing, Zooming, cooking, driving, waiting, learning, buying, and the countless other things that drive our time, we bring together diverse hopes. To have a moment to open ourselves to the sacred within us, to step out of isolation and into community, to experience ideas and wisdom that might break us out of our own cycles and patterns of living. We want and need encouragement to live in ways that reflect the values of a timeless tradition of spirit seekers, but that speak to our lives today. We wish to see with eyes of possibility for life together in this world, to imagine, to support, to act justly, to make choices in our days that shout care, compassion, love, and forgiveness to the world around us. May glimpses of the fullness of life abound while we ever live toward it. Amen.
We've got the strength, we've got the courage to face today. We've got the strength, we've got the courage, come on, May. Times of deep unrest, days when pain attacks, revive the truth of love's abiding sound. We've got the strength, we've got the courage to face today. We've got the strength, we've got the courage, come on, May. When our hope runs deep, when our God is steep, we recall the truth of love's abiding sound. We've got the strength, we've got the courage to face today. We've got the strength, we've got the courage, come on, May. We've got the strength, we've got the courage to face today. We've got the strength, we've got the courage, come on,
We have words that can strengthen our intentions that Nancy led us in that prayer, but we also have words that can kind of send us off to to really strengthen our goals in terms of how we leave this place and spend the time for the rest of today and whatever comes after. Thanks to Pam and Pam for leading us in these closing words.
To act in trust increases trust.
To act in delusion increases delusion.
To act in truth increases truth.
To act in submission increases domination.
To act with integrity increases equality.
To act in hate increases hate.
To act in love increases love.
To act in despair increases despair.
To act in hope increases hope.
And so with those words, we go into this day and into this week. May the time we have be the time that is ours, the time to reflect on who we are, what we do, and the choices we make. And may the light of community and the light and the spark that keeps us go with us in whatever form it may. May we go in the spirit of life and love. Be well and take care.